Hello and welcome to this broadcast by Union Solidarity International. My name is Walton Pantland and I'm joined today by Johanna Kold, who is joining us from Sweden this summer. And Johanna is going to be talking to us today about Nordic unions. The Scandinavian countries are really interesting because they have very high levels of union density and not coincidentally, also the highest levels of equality in the world and some of the best standards of living. But a lot of us don't really understand much about how the Nordic system works, and Johanna's going to tell us a bit about that. And particularly, Johanna, I'm interested in the fact that Scandinavian countries don't really have a lot of labor laws, and most things are up for negotiation between the unions and the employer representatives. How does that work?
Yeah, that's right. There are some laws, of course, but most of them are also negotiable. So there is a law which would be in place if there is no union agreement, but basically the parties, the unions and the employers' organizations can decide to do things in a different way than the law states. This means that they have obviously a lot of power to both when it comes to salaries and other benefits and everything. And this goes way back. I think it was in the 30s, at least in Sweden, that this way of negotiation started. And it also means that strikes, for example, are quite rare because unions do not do anything in between well, they do things in between, but they don't strike during the time that an agreement is valid. And normally you renegotiate them every 2 years. So after those 2 years, obviously the unions can take actions, and the employers' organizations as well if they want to. But yeah.
And what do you think is the difference here? Is it because the unions are stronger, or do you have more responsible employers there?
Well, it might be a combination, I don't know.
Okay.
Obviously, this is, well, as I said, it started in the 30s, so it's very deeply rooted in Scandinavian and Nordic kind of traditions. So,
but there's a definite sense of co-determination rather than the conflict that you get in.
Yeah, and I think everyone expects both employers and unions to deal with it and to avoid big strikes and so on. As far as possible.
And you've been looking at some of the interesting social media campaigns that the unions in the Nordic countries have been doing, and one of the ones that I thought would be good to talk about is the Swedish retro pay one, which I think is quite funny. But before you do that, can you just explain a bit how it is that unions pay unemployment benefits? Is that how it works?
You pay. The unions organize the unemployment benefit system. So every member, well, actually you don't even have to be a member of the union to join the union unemployment benefit system. But you do pay in a monthly fee. It's like an insurance. You pay, and if you do lose your job, you get a certain amount of money. And you're supposed to get 80% of your salary. But the problem is that one thing that the state does decide is a maximum limit on how much you can get out. So if you have a very high wage, of course, I mean, it does make some sense that you're not going to get out 80% if you have a very high wage. So I think everyone agrees that there should be a limit, but the problem right now in Sweden is that this ceiling hasn't risen since 2001. And obviously inflation and so on has resulted in that amount of money is really not very much. In fact, most people, I think only 10% of people would actually get out 80% of their salary, because even low-wage jobs would normally be more than this ceiling. So pretty much no one would actually get 80%.
And so the Swedish Confederation TCO has a campaign about this. Tell us about the campaign, because I think it's quite clever.
It is quite good. They are actually they have several good social media campaigns. But this one, they used the hashtag TBT2001 and have asked people to post pictures or comments or anything really that kind of embodies the year 2001 for them. If it's music or TV
massive
show
mobile
or
phones
massive
whatever
mobile phones, anything that's 2001. And when you look at these pictures and these comments, obviously you think that, oh, that's quite a long time ago. A lot has changed since then.
And things have got significantly more expensive,
Yes.
haven't they?
But the ceiling has not risen. And the problem is also that, well, in Sweden we have elections coming up in September, so this is kind of ahead of the elections to bring it up on the agenda and to get the political parties to talk about it. Because, well, actually now the Social Democratic leader did mention it and has said that he would support it, but before it wasn't really an issue. So they want to emphasize it and to make it an election issue.
And can you tell us a bit about Are Du OK and Like a Swede, Don't Look to Sweden, and some of the other campaigns which have...
I've been looking at a few other, well, from all other Scandinavian countries, and a problem that, well, probably all of them have in common is that fewer and fewer young people, especially, join unions. Well, there are probably many reasons for that, but unions are losing members even in Sweden. So there are several campaigns to kind of show not only young people, but mostly young people, what unions do for you. And there are so many things that we take for granted in Sweden that people don't realize are actually the work of the unions. So that's why the Danish union confederations have a campaign called Er Du OK? I don't actually speak Danish, so I'm not sure.
It means, are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. So basically they want you to ask yourself if you're okay, by which they mean, are you part of a union? Do you support the system and actually do your share in keeping it this way? So for example, they had a video where they asked people in the US, or they told people in the US some of the benefits everyone gets in Sweden, or in Denmark in this case, sorry. For example, 5 or 6 weeks paid vacation every year. And, well, the Americans' reactions to this is obviously, for us, quite funny, because for them it's unthinkable. And Swedish Union Confederation TCO, the same one as the previous year, they had a similar aim with a video Like a Swede, where they use also Americans, an American guy who's living like a Swede, and well, the
just
point
to
is that
highlight how good a quality of life it is.
He has a rich dad and is very, very rich, so that's why he can afford all these things like parental leave and vacations and so on. And well, once again, in the US, those are things that nobody really can do if they're not rich, whereas everyone in Sweden gets those benefits thanks to the unions.
Thank you, Johanna. Really, really important to show the massive difference, to highlight the difference that unions have made to Swedish society, which is one of the most, Scandinavian society, one of the most equal on earth, and it's something that we hope to be talking more about in future. So once again, thank you for watching.